this is our final speaker, and super excited. You come down from Cambridge, haven't you? Oh.
Yeah, kind of. London.
Oh, this is London.
We're based in Cambridge.
Oh, okay, but you're not. Okay, you're London, sorry. Okay, London's here. All right, here we are. Okay, so Nicole Waters is a business development representative for Redgate Software. Her title of her talk is Dialed In, the Martial Art of Business Development. She's going to be talking about her martial art focus and how she applies that to business development. She has a background career in marketing and content creation for companies like Oracle. Since joining Redgate Software, she's been helping their customers to save hours on manual tasks, protect and provision their data, and standardize team tasks. Can we have a round of applause for our final speaker, please?
Hello, super excited to be here. As mentioned, my name is Nicole. I have been a business development representative at Redgate for just under a year now, but I've actually been training in combat sports for about 5. So as a brief word of warning, I'm going to be doing some martial arts analogies in this presentation. However, under no circumstances am I suggesting that you fight your prospects, no matter how tempting it may be. I feel that I can attribute a lot of the success that I've had in sales to some of the things that I've learned in martial arts over the years. So if it's cool with you guys, I'm going to share some of those tips today. So the first tip is to know your opponent. You would never go into any sort of fight or competition having never seen your opponent fight before. You would study their tapes. You would look them up on social media to get a feel for their style and experience. Similarly, in our role, I would never suggest that you reach out to someone having never done a little bit of research into who they are first. At minimum, I like to have 3 bits of personalization to loop into my outreach to reference back to as I'm speaking with them. You know, sometimes people have like a really dry LinkedIn, so this could be something as simple as their role, how long they've been in their role, maybe a previous role to reference progression. You could find an industry or vertical insight or a relevant news article about their business. Those last 2 are really helpful if you're multi-threading to multiple prospects within an account because it's scalable and repeatable. My challenge to you is to find one specific piece of information to loop into the first line of your outreach, whether that's your subject line, a LinkedIn connection request, or the intro to your cold call. Personally, I don't automate anything. I personalize everything I send out, and I feel that's made a massive difference because it shows my prospect that I've invested a little bit of time into caring who they are and that I'm a real person and not a robot. Maybe you've seen videos of people shadowboxing before. Now, the purpose of shadowboxing is not to throw that entire sequence shot for shot in a fight because that's pretty unrealistic. But rather, you have some core combos committed to muscle memory, so that when you're in a fight and your opponent throws a jab, you can slip and counter without a second thought. In our role, I wouldn't recommend having a full call script memorized because, much like in a fight, you have no idea what your prospect is going to throw at you. But rather, have some core combos committed to muscle memory, like your intro, your closer, maybe some objection handlers or some questions if you get stuck. That way, when you're hit with an objection, you can counter and keep the conversation flowing without getting stumped. Now, these combos aren't as effective unless they're diverse. If you enter a fight with one hand tied behind your back, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. You need jabs, crosses, kicks, elbows, knees, grappling, all in combination to have the highest chances of success. In our role, yeah, maybe you can book a meeting off of just email or just LinkedIn or just the phone, but it's not as effective as if you use all of these in combination. SalesLoft told us last year that it takes about 15 to 20 touches nowadays to get a response from a prospect. That means that you have to be consistent and persistent, but you also have to be creative. I booked a meeting with a high-profile client by sending them a super personalized LinkedIn voice note that referenced content from their blog, from their LinkedIn, and when we actually sat the meeting, the contact called out that he appreciated how personal and intentional the outreach was and that it cut through the noise of the traditional paragraphs that he gets on LinkedIn. Now, another thing that's really helpful when multi-channel prospecting is referencing the previous channels that you've used. So for example, maybe in an email subject line, I'll reference a voicemail I left. Or in a LinkedIn connection request, I'll mention an email I sent them. This helps to warm up a cold lead, and it increases the chances that if you actually get this person on the phone, they'll remember who you are, and that cold call is suddenly a lot warmer. And the last point I want to touch on probably relates the most, and that has to do with mental toughness and resilience. Before my first ever Muay Thai fight, if you don't know what Muay Thai is, it's kind of like kickboxing with elbows and knees. My coach pulled me aside, and there were some guys fighting in the ring in front of me, and he said, "Nicole, do you think that's Muay Thai?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think that's Muay Thai." He was like, "That's not Muay Thai. Muay Thai is this feeling that you have right here in your chest. It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway." I don't need to tell you guys that we have a hard job. You know how many people wouldn't do our job because when you talk to your family and friends and you tell them what you do for a living, they say, "Oh, I could never do that." You have to be proud that you're even sitting here today because most people would never even step in the ring. I'm a big believer in leaning into the grind set, but I'm also a big believer in knowing yourself and how you work. If you're someone who absolutely hates cold calling, recognize that. If you're someone who absolutely detests sending emails, you think it's so long and tedious, recognize that. When I time block time out for these individual channels, I'll also put in 15 to 20 minutes afterwards for a little break to reward myself. Personally, I'm a big bubble tea girl because I know that cold calling can be hard. I've been kicked in the head in sparring and blacked out, and sometimes I prefer that to calling back a prospect who's hung up on me. Another thing that I find really helpful is something I read in Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt. Jeb tells us to tally the rejections that we get, which sounds a little bit depressing, but it actually turns it into kind of a game. Each week, I aim to beat the number of rejections I got the week before. Because typically, if I'm getting more no's, that means that I'm prospecting more and working harder, and the number of yeses also proportionately increases. And the last thing I'll say is that in a fight, you do not stop until the final bell rings or until the referee separates you. We're in a results-driven business. We've all been there. You got the contact on the phone, you feel like you can get commitment, but you can't fully get that meeting. They'll give you the, "Oh, that sounds great. Why don't you send me an email?" Job's not done. "Oh no, sure, I'm interested, but can you follow up in like May time? We're really busy." Job's not done. "Oh no, for sure. How about I send you an email with some times and we can go from there?" You're never getting that email. Job's not done. If you can get commitment when you're on the phone with them, prove the value. Get them to pull up their calendar. Ask them if they have it in front of them. Ask them a time that works. Send them the invite while you're on the phone. Send a placeholder for a month out while you have them on the phone. Ask them to confirm the invite as a next step and finish the job. So to conclude, the 3 things that I've learned in my experience in martial arts that I feel most apply to my role in business development are knowing your opponent, working your combos, and using mental toughness and resilience to finish the job. Thank you.